The South Dakota Office of Emergency Management wants everyone to be prepared before the next disaster strikes. This presentation will give you some tasks to do to make sure you're ready to hit the ground running the next time we're hit with a disaster. What can you do to make sure you're prepared before the next disaster? Make sure you can log into Grants portal. Respond to the request your planning district sends you. Keep up on facility maintenance and keep maintenance records for all the work you do. Have a plan in place for when the next disaster hits. Make sure everyone knows what their role is. Make sure you keep all important documentation. Take photos of all your facilities so you have a visual record of what everything looks like before a disaster. Document GPS locations for all of your facilities. By now, your entity should have access to the FEMA Grants portal. Make sure that anyone in a leadership role has login information and can log into your entity's account. If you've recently had elections or had staff turnover, make sure that everyone who needs access to Grants portal does. Review everyone's organizational roles and make sure everyone has the access they need. You can assign and reassign personnel as primary contacts, alternate contacts, organizational administrators, or read-only access. Review the addresses and phone numbers listed and make sure that they are up to date. The mailing address listed in the portal is where important documents will be mailed, and the phone numbers listed will be the numbers the state and FEMA use to contact you. Make sure that any organizational documents that are uploaded are up to date. Documents like insurance policies, payroll policies, meeting minutes, procurement policies, and any other organizational documentation should be updated. Every year, your local planning district sends out a request for you to update your roads. Please respond to this request and make sure that all the information is accurate and up to date. This information is used to populate statewide maps with road widths and information, and this will be used to verify information your entity provides during the PDA process and project reviews. Your entity should have a schedule in place for performing routine maintenance and inspections on all of your facilities. This can include buildings, equipment, bridges, culverts, roads, and vehicles. Make sure that any repairs that are done are fully documented and reports from any inspections are kept. If there are adverse findings on an inspection, make sure that you keep records of repairs that are made to satisfy these findings. No one wants disaster to strike. Having a plan in place for what to do before, during, and after a disaster can set your entity up for success and help you get the funding you need to repair damages and mitigate future loss. What are the potential disasters that you could face? Flooding, tornadoes, wildfires, earthquakes, blizzards, ice storms? In the event of a disaster, who is in charge of taking photos of damages? Who is in charge of taking an inventory and getting measurements? Who do you want to be the primary point of contact for the state and FEMA? Have documentation in place that shows who is in charge of what, and keep it updated when there are staffing changes. Make sure this plan also includes information on where important records and documents are kept, and contact information for the state and other agencies you may need to contact for permits and information. It's important not only to keep documentation, but to store it in a safe place. Make sure you have a hard drive, file cabinet, or other storage for all of your entity's important records. Keep purchase receipts, maintenance logs, contracts, facility photos, and facility GPS locations somewhere that is accessible. Any records that are part of a project from a federally declared disaster must be kept for 3 years after the close of the disaster. The state will send you a letter notifying you when a disaster is closed so that you know when your 3-year retention period is over. A good rule of thumb is to plan on keeping records for 10 years. Make sure that you update your records regularly anytime a facility is changed, repaired, or added. Make sure you update your records accordingly. Having accurate GPS locations for all your facilities and photos of what everything looks like in pre-disaster condition is important. Photos will help show the extent of damage in the event of a disaster, and GPS locations will help ensure that your damage inventory is accurate. GPS locations will also determine if your facility is impacted by laws and regulations like the Clean Water Act and the Endangered Species Act, and whether your facility is located on or near a site that could have historical significance. Make sure that anytime repairs or changes are made to your facilities that you take new photos and verify GPS coordinates for accuracy. The South Dakota Office of Emergency Management wants everyone to be prepared before the next disaster strikes. This presentation will give you some tasks to do to make sure you're ready to hit the ground running the next time we're hit with a disaster.